Are you a current Wealthbox user that's having a bit of trouble trying to figure out what types of event categories I should be building out inside of my own Wealthbox CRM? Well, if that's you, in today's video, we're going to show you exactly how to do that and talk about these three main buckets of events that you should be considering building out for your firm, how to do that exactly inside of Wealthbox, and then finally giving you some examples of reports that you could be building out inside of your own CRM. Hey, it's Matthew. If you're looking to build workflows that actually work and help your firm scale and grow, please feel free to grab your copy of Mastering Strategies to Avoid the RA Disaster. The link will be in the description below. And if you're serious about building workflows, processes, and automations for your firm, let's connect. Schedule an intro call with us using the link in our description below, and we'd be more than happy to get to know you and your firm. All right, now back to the video. So we are in our Wealthbox CRM now, and what we're going to be looking at here are the different types of event categories that we can build out. And again, talking about those three main buckets that we alluded to at the beginning of this video. So wanted to talk about three main ideas here. So the first one, if we're going to be following the client journey, we're going to be talking about prospecting. So this is our main bucket here of prospecting meetings that we want to be able to track. Typically what we find is that most firms have some sort of introductory process, like they have a phone call, some sort of meeting to really scope out, is this prospect going to be a good fit for my firm? Are we going to be a good fit for that existing prospect who we want to convert to a client? And essentially this happens during your intro meeting. Could be a phone call, could be really quick, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, but you definitely need a way to start tracking that and making sure that you're getting good information out of your CRM. So we have that as our first meeting type here, and then going on following with prospecting. Then we have that second type of meeting, like a discovery meeting, where you're kind of uncovering a lot more data, maybe going into fact-finding mode, and then trying to ultimately decide, is this going to be a good long-term fit with this prospect? And essentially the main idea here is we're wanting to start to really categorize and get really specific as to what prospecting means to your firm. So if you don't have a formal way of prospecting, now's a good time to talk to your team. Maybe you're a solo advisor, and really start to identify what are these prospecting meetings that I want to do, and also future advisors at my firm to do, so we can keep some consistency. So next, we have that maybe final and last actual prospecting meeting that you'll be having with your prospect. And that can be like a planned presentation, some sort of implementation meeting, where then you're kind of delivering something back to the prospect and showing them what you'd be doing if you started working together. So these are the three main meeting types that we see a lot of firms building out for their prospecting journey. And then let's say there's a fourth one, again, like we talked about, implementation. But we also want to consider any meetings that happen in between these. So let's say, for example, you got to jump on a quick Zoom call, or let's say this prospect needs to come back into the office just for like a 30-minute meeting or virtual meeting. Definitely want to keep track of those. So we have this general meeting category here for prospects. And then we also have a phone call. Let's say you're having a phone call with the prospect and you just want to be able to track that. That's a good category. And kind of to wrap it up here, that's our first bucket of event categories that we see a lot of firms utilizing inside of their Wealthbox CRM. So now that we're done talking about that first bucket, let's get into our second one here. And this is where we see a lot of firms starting to define their onboarding process. Now, you may not have a formal onboarding process. Maybe you just go from prospecting straight into client meetings, and you kind of push out, let's say 6 months or a year out, then you'll reach back out to your new client. But we see a lot of firms starting to implement this initial onboarding type of meeting where they have essentially opened up some accounts, maybe established a client portal, and then they'll want to meet back up with their client just to make sure that any final paperwork that need to be signed, any final accounts that need to be pushed over happens during this scheduled meeting with a new client. So went ahead and created this event category here for this initial onboarding, and then also a great high quality client servicing or maybe client meeting touch point to really strengthen the relationship as a new client with your firm is then providing a 60-day check-in. Doesn't have to be 60 days. It can be 90 days, 30 days, really any frequency that you're looking for, but creating some sort of consistency around a onboarding process with a new client will definitely show them that you're considering them and you're not just trying to move accounts over and then forget about them for a full year out. So we see a lot of firms implementing this and really trying to create some consistency and being able to track this 60-day check-in. And finally, we have a rollover call that you may have to have during this process here of onboarding. And you may want to just get this in the books and make sure that you're actually doing this step, as we know a lot of firms are working with the retirement accounts and trying to move any retirement accounts over into their care. So those are the three main types of onboarding meetings that we see. And that's our, again, second bucket of different types of event categories that we see a lot of firms building out. So now we're going to get into our last bucket here of event categories, and probably the most important for your firm in really tracking all those different types of client meetings that you have throughout the year. So on the right-hand side here, we have a couple of different ones listed out, and starting off with the most commonly used one, annual reviews. We see a lot of firms really utilizing this type of meeting category and really just to try to track, am I meeting with my clients throughout the year? Am I doing my fiduciary duty with keeping up with them and also compliance duty to provide them some time throughout the year to meet with me? Next, we have our check-in meetings. Maybe this is just a quick 30-minute check-in where you're scheduling some time on the calendar just to see if there's any life updates throughout the year. But we do see a lot of firms trying to provide that high-quality touch point with a client. Next here, if you're a financial planning focused firm and you want to be able to track the different types of planning meetings you're having throughout the year, this can be a great way to do that. And we listed out a couple of different examples here, like tax planning, estate, income, and insurance planning as well. So let's say, for example, you want to be able to track, well, when's the last time I had a tax planning meeting with my clients? And this is a great way to do it, because if you just do it through notes, it's going to be a little hard to actually identify when was the last time I had a tax planning focused meeting with our client at our firm. So if you're looking to do that, this is the best way that we've identified to do this inside of Wealthbox CRM. You can also do it through a notes template, but it's very tricky to do that because you can skim through notes, but you can't really identify when was that last time we had a tax focused planning meeting with a client. So we have these here just as an example. And then finally, you have those one-offs where you have the client meetings and maybe it's a little unstructured and there's just a specific need they're looking for. So we went ahead and added a just general meeting event category here, and then also phone calls. As phone calls come in, you want to schedule a phone call, just a quick 15-minute phone call with the client. So now that we showed you, again, the three main buckets here, so we have prospecting, we have our onboarding, and then we have our client meetings, we're going to show you how to actually build these out inside of your own CRM in Wealthbox. So now that we showed you all of those great different types of event categories to build out inside of your Wealthbox CRM, I'm going to show you how to do it and how to actually make these customizations inside of your own Wealthbox CRM. So on the top right, I'm going to go ahead and click on the three dots here next to my name, and then I'll go ahead and click on settings. So once I go ahead and click on settings here, on the left-hand side, under workspace, we're going to have this button for customization. So go ahead and click on customizations. And then now what we're going to do is click on event category. And this is going to show up under all the other customizations that you can build out inside of your Wealthbox CRM. So we'll click on event categories. And now this list should look pretty familiar to what we just showed you on the calendar in Wealthbox. So again, just as an example here, we have our prospecting meetings, we have the onboarding meetings, and then we also have any client meetings we want to be able to track inside of our Wealthbox CRM. So to actually add a new event category, what I'm going to do is click on this green button on the top right called Create Category. So for example, if I wanted to add a new category here, I would go ahead and just type in, let's say it's a client meeting and it's a general meeting that we just wanted to add here. I'll go ahead and then finally click that green save button, and that'll add that to your list here of any client meetings or any prospecting meetings or onboarding that you need to track for your firm. So it's pretty simple. If you want to take a moment here to pause, copy these down inside of your own CRM, maybe adjust the language for the different prospecting process, or maybe you have some defined onboarding meetings. Please take a moment here to do that. And next, what we're going to show you is how do you actually report on this information inside of the Reports tab in Wealthbox CRM. So let's go ahead and go to that Reports tab here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and click on Reports right over here on the left hand side, and now we're going to be taken over to our reports page inside of Wealthbox CRM. And what we're going to do is, since we have this already saved as a template, we're going to show you what that looks like over here. But for you, what we're going to do is go ahead and click on this Create New Reports button, and we'll show you this report that we have built out inside of Wealthbox already. So for now, what we're wanting to show are any annual reviews that we're having with our clients. And specifically, I want to know for 2025 of Q4, how many annual reviews did we have at the firm? So the first thing that we're going to be changing here is the report object. So essentially the report object is the type of report that you're wanting to build out here. So we know that these are events inside a Wealthbox, and events are what show up on your calendar. So we're going to keep it as an event, as a report object. Then give it a name that makes sense for your firm here. We just have this as a pretty simple kind of aligning with the different types of, let's say, client meetings that we're having. So if I wanted to specify, let's say client meeting, and then we say annual review, and then the time frame in which this is actually taking place. So the report filters, we have three main report filters that we're going to want to add here. So the first one is the actual category. And again, these are all the categories that we just built out inside of our own CRM. And we're going to say category is an annual review. And next we're going to say, and the status of this is completed. So we want to make sure that this was actually complete and this event happened. Next, we're going to go ahead and then show the and function here in our final report filter to say this event was created, or if you're looking to see when this was, you can say starts at. So we can change it to starts at. And then if you want to, again, show that this happened in between Q4 of 2025, we'll get very specific here and we'll show the in-between dates. We'll go ahead and filter back to Q4. So we'll go October 1st all the way over to December 31st. All right, so now that we built out the reporting filters here, what we're going to do is show the fields that actually need to be displayed. So we're going to keep it pretty simple here. We're going to want to show the starts at, the related to, attendees, and location. So the starts at is when this event or this annual review is actually taking place. The related to is going to be the client that's attached to this event for this annual review. The attendees is going to be the advisors internally at the firm. So let's say, for example, you want to be able to show, are these advisors, am I having these meetings? But more specifically, we're just wanting to show who's actually showing up to the meeting. And then finally, if you want to see the location, whether this was a Zoom meeting or if this was an in-person meeting, then we'll have that field to display down here below. So another field or option here on this report that we can build out are the fields to group by. So if you're wanting to show, let's say by attendees, if you're wanting to show, like, let's say, for example, I want to know the advisors and kind of keep track of in Q4 what meetings are having, we can definitely do that here. So for now, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to show this report, and we'll go ahead and save this template. So once I went ahead and saved this template here, we're going to be given this little confirmation that we have successfully created this report. And what we're going to be doing now is actually seeing the data. So we see that we had in December, on specifically the 19th, we had an annual review with Joe Schmo. We see the attendee was myself, and it was on Zoom. And if we actually want to represent this data in a bar graph, we can do so here, and we'll show you exactly how we did that. So we checked the chart for column, we just gave it a general name as report. The x-axis is going to be starts at, and then we have it by month. If you want to show by week or by quarter, we can definitely do that as well. And then finally, the y-axis is going to be the number of events. So we're going to want to track the number of annual reviews that we've had for each month within this quarter. So we'll go ahead and save that chart there. And we see that this spreadsheet below does match that we did have 2 annual reviews that happened in the month of December. So hope you found this video helpful and also giving you some ideas on what's possible inside of your own Wealthbox CRM. And if you enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we provide a lot of content like this to you utilize Wealthbox a little bit better. And also we have a free guide down below in our description here to help you out with building out your own firm.